Hey everyone, so I'm here to talk about Anthology, which is a social simulation framework that we're building in our lab at NC State University. But first, a story. So I have this old paper that I published at AIIDE and AIIDE several years ago, and we've had a lot of good feedback from the AIIDE community where students will reach out to me and say, can I reuse this? Can I remove some features? Can I kind of use the simulation part of your project? And all of that makes us feel really good. Then the problem happens, and this is kind of the motivation for this work, is they'll say, okay, how do I do this? And help me do this. And can you rewrite a part of your simulation? And can I rewrite this to kind of make it more reusable in our lab? And so it's all flattering, but it's also a very tightly coupled system, which is kind of the issue with most social simulation systems out there right now. And so if you look at prior work, some of the work from this community includes work from SIF, from Talk of the Town, from Versu, but on the whole, our community has kind of disparate implementations and disparate social simulations. And these works are kind of disjoint from one another. These research groups will work in isolation. They use different terminology to discuss their models and so on. And so overall, we've seen a movement recently towards creating a more general system or a more modular framework for social simulation. And so more recently, we've seen this with work from the SIF creation kit, where it tries to make academic research from its namesake project a little more accessible and more reachable to a commercial audience. We've also seen this with Neighborly, the sandbox that kind of attempts to reconstruct Talk of the Town to make it more general use. But both these projects that I've described here seek to modify existing frameworks and make those frameworks more usable or flexible. In contrast, what we are doing in Anthology is creating a multi-agent social simulation system that is specifically designed from scratch for usability and expressivity. And the way we talk about usability is users who use our framework should be able to create a simulation with at least 2 to 5 agents with 5 or 10 actions within an hour without any supervised training from our research team. And they should not have to kind of debug our source code or read any of the source code if they don't want to. Additionally, we measure expressivity as if the user of our system can conceptualize any variety of case scenarios or use case scenarios, once they understand the scope of the system, then they should be able to implement these scenarios across any of the genres of social simulation that they're trying to implement. And so we kind of try to design for reproducibility, and we're trying to design for the systems that we're creating in this community to be reused. And in order to do that, we kind of have to deal with having clear documentation, having a user-friendly or flexible system in the first place. And so our methodology for the same was to kind of group the participatory design and discovery process along with engineering, design, and requirement gathering process that you have traditionally. And so the way we do that is our initial model, our initial MVP was made with discussions with an expert who kind of works with both industry as well as academia. Once we had that initial model, we had a set of features that we're implementing, but every time we iterate on the model, we go through an expert evaluation using participatory design and discovery process. And I think some of the people that have evaluated our system are sitting in the audience right now. And then we kind of reiterate on the design and we try to make it as usable and as flexible as possible. And each time we look to see how the experts are using the tool. So we look to see what it is that they expected, what they didn't expect, what was causing them frustrations, how it changed their current workflows in whether we needed to modify something, whether they were open to changing their workflows and everything. So we've gone through 4 iterations so far, which has kind of led to the architecture of our current Anthology system. And so each of these evaluations not only has us walk the experts in every round of participatory design through our system, but we also walk them through our architecture, ask them what works for them, what doesn't. We currently have our entire system in TypeScript. and the input specification files are in JSON. So the agent model kind of uses that specification file to perceive what is in the world around them, and has goal and motive-based reasoning that is incorporated. We also ask the experts to evaluate our documentation. So during our study, we kind of just give them the documentation and say, okay, find what you need. And then we see where is it hampering them, where are they kind of getting stuck, what are they not understanding, and then we keep clarifying that as well. And finally, we're working on a user interface that kind of goes along with this. So it's TypeScript, so it's in the browser, but you can kind of see the motives for each of the agents right now that we're simulating. So like a physical motive would be eating, sleeping, exercising. So the agents are kind of walking around trying to do that. A social motive would be at some point of time, agents need to meet one another, work together, have coffee together, and so on. Financial motivation could be, I gotta go and work at this job because I have to pay rent. Accomplishment could just be something that makes you feel accomplished, so like a hobby on the side or something you're doing to make you feel better. And then emotion is, of course, like the need for leisure or rest or happiness in general. And so to test the system, to be part of our study, to give us feedback in general and kind of make more usable and flexible simulations, please come to our poster.